In the endless darkness of space, a small object drifted slowly among the stars. It was not a planet, not a rock, and not a piece of broken ship. It was something older, something strange. The object carried a glowing mark on its surface, a symbol that looked like a circle with lines spreading like sun rays. The symbol shined softly, even when no light was around it. For many years, no one noticed this object until a human exploration ship on a deep mission found it. The ship's scanners could not understand the material it was made from, and the captain thought it was only junk, but one young worker on the ship felt something different when he looked at it. His name was Arik, and he was not a scientist, not a soldier, only a simple maintenance worker who fixed small machines for the crew. Arik walked near the object, and for a moment he thought he could hear a soft hum, like a whisper, calling his name. The scientists tried to cut the object open, but no tool worked. Lasers, failed drills, broken energy fields only bounced back still. The object remained untouched. Then something unexpected happened when Arik placed his hand by accident on the symbol. The object suddenly came alive. Light burst out and filled the whole room. Alarms screamed. The crew panicked, but the object did not attack. Instead, it opened itself like a flower and showed a shining crystal floating in the air. Everyone stepped back, but Arik could not move. He was frozen by the strange light the crystal touched his forehead, and in a flash he saw visions. He saw galaxies spinning faster than thought. He saw strange alien cities glowing in colors he had never seen. He saw great wars of fire in the sky, and then he saw a calm path made of stars stretching like a bridge into the unknown. The vision ended quickly, but it left Arik shaking. His heart raced, his body trembled, and he fell to the floor. The others rushed to him, but he whispered only one word before losing his strength. Zen, the crew reported the event to the human government at once. The object, now called the Zen device, was locked in heavy security. Soldiers surrounded it. Scientists demanded to study it, but strangely, the device refused to open again. No matter who touched it, it remained silent, cold, and heavy like before. Only Arik seemed to have the key. Whenever he walked near the device, it hummed again. Whenever he closed his eyes, he felt the visions returning, small flashes of stars, planets, and voices calling to him. The government became worried. Some leaders thought it was dangerous and wanted to destroy it. Others believed it was a gift and must be protected. Still others whispered that maybe it was a trap from an alien race. But one thing was clear. Arik was now connected to the device, and no one understood why. He was only a beginner, not trained, not chosen, not special in any known way. Yet the device answered to him. The scientists began asking him questions, but he could not explain what he saw. He only said it felt like a guide, like something was teaching him through feelings and pictures, not words. Some nights he could not sleep. He kept seeing the glowing path made of stars and hearing a soft voice whispering, balance, calm, trust yourself. Arik started to fear his own mind was breaking. Maybe it was not real, maybe the device was controlling him, or maybe he was going mad. But deep inside, he also felt excitement. He was a nobody, a simple worker. And yet something in the universe had reached for him. The soldiers guarding him did not smile. They watched him with cold eyes, and some even whispered that he was dangerous. But Arik kept silent and tried to understand what was happening to him. One day, when he was alone with the device, he asked quietly, "What do you want from me?" To his shock, he heard an answer, not with ears, but inside his head. The voice was calm and strange. It said only this: "You are the beginner. You must walk the path of galactic Zen." Arik gasped and looked around, but no one else heard anything. The room was silent except for his pounding heart. His hands shook. His breath was heavy, and for the first time he realized this was not only a discovery, it was the beginning of something bigger than him, bigger than his ship, bigger than Earth itself. Far away in the stars, something had chosen him, and he had no idea why. Arik tried to forget what had happened, but the visions and the strange voice did not leave him. Every time he closed his eyes, he felt a presence near his mind, like someone was standing behind him, whispering, though no one was there. One night when the ship was silent and most of the crew were asleep, he woke suddenly because the voice was calling again. It said, "Arik, do not fear, I am your guide. I am part of the galactic Zen." At first he thought he was dreaming, but the voice was clear and calm. He asked in a low whisper, "What are you? What do you want from me?" The voice answered. "I'm here to teach you the path. You are human. You are beginner. But every path begins with a first step." Arik felt his heart beating fast. He had no idea what Galactic Zen meant, but he felt deep inside that the voice was not a threat. It was like a teacher speaking with patience the next day. The scientists tested him again. They asked him to touch the device to activate it. He placed his hand, but this time, nothing happened. The object stayed cold. The scientists frowned. Some soldiers whispered that he was lying, that maybe he had faked everything. Arik felt heavy pressure in his chest, as if he was a prisoner of something he could not explain later alone in. His small room? The voice returned. It said, "You cannot show them yet. They are not ready. They do not believe. But you must believe. You must learn balance," Arik whispered. Balance of what? The voice answered. Balance of yourself, your fear and your hope, your anger and your calm. Without balance, the path will break. Without balance, you will fail. Arik closed his eyes and tried to understand. Images appeared in his mind. He saw himself standing in the middle of two fires. One fire was bright and warm. The other was dark and wild. The voice said, "Choose neither. Control." Both Arik shivered and opened his eyes. Sweat covered his face. He felt both afraid and excited, but he did not tell anyone. He kept this secret because he knew no one would believe him. Meanwhile, strange things began happening outside the ship. Other ships reported seeing shadows moving in space. Alien signals were caught but not understood. Something or someone was watching them. The government leaders became restless. They sent more soldiers to guard the device. They gave orders that Arik must stay under constant watch. They feared that the object might attract enemies. Arik felt the pressure growing around him. Every guard looked at him with suspicion, like he was dangerous, but he was just a simple man chosen by something he could not control. Still, the voice did not leave him. Sometimes it spoke softly, sometimes only one word: calm, focus, listen. One evening, while the ship floated in silence, Arik saw something. Outside the window, he saw a small flash of light moving like a star, but it moved with purpose, not random. He blinked and the light vanished. The voice whispered, "They are coming." Arik froze, his throat dry. "Who is coming?" he asked. The voice answered, "Those who fear the path, those who want to stop you." Arik felt a wave of fear rise in him. But the voice added, "Do not fear, you are not alone. The path has chosen you." Arik lay awake all night, his mind full of questions. Why him? Why now? What was this path? Where did it lead? He remembered his simple life fixing machines on Earth. Nobody cared about him. He had no power, no special gift yet. Now a voice from beyond the stars was guiding him. Something greater than Earth, greater than human science, was speaking to him. The next day during breakfast, one of the soldiers glared at him and muttered, "You are cursed." Arik lowered his head and said nothing. He knew arguing would change. Nothing, but inside he felt the guide telling him, "Stay calm. Balance is stronger than anger." He obeyed. He stayed silent, but deep inside he could feel his strength growing slowly, like a seed in the dark, waiting to rise still. Questions tormented him. What if the voice was lying? What if it was a trap? What if he was being used? He decided to test it that night. He asked the guide, "Who are you really?" The voice was silent for a long time. Then it said, "I am the echo of the ancients. I am the memory of a path older than your stars. I am not your enemy. I am your teacher." Arik felt chills run through his body. He whispered, "Then what is Galactic Zen?" The voice replied, "It is the way to shape the galaxy, not with weapons, but with balance and mind. Only those who walk the path may lead. Only those who pass may survive." Arik felt dizzy with these words. He sat in the dark thinking about what this could mean, but before he could ask more questions, alarms rang across the ship. Red lights flashed. Soldiers ran shouting, "Code, red, code, red." Something was happening outside. Arik jumped to his feet and looked through the window. His eyes widened in shock as he saw strange dark ships sliding out of the void. They were not human. They were not friendly. The voice whispered once more, "They have found you now. Your real test begins." The ship shook as the alien vessels appeared from the darkness. They were sharp black shapes like blades of metal sliding through space, with red lights glowing on their edges. The human crew panicked, alarms screamed, and soldiers rushed to battle stations. But deep inside, everyone knew they were not ready. These were not pirates or common enemies. They were something far older and stronger. Arik felt the same cold energy rising in his chest. The voice whispered, "Stay calm, they have come for." The device the captain shouted orders to prepare defenses. But the alien ships moved with impossible speed. Beams of light cut across the sky shields, broke, and explosions ripped through space. The human crew tried to fight, but their weapons were too weak. Then a message came through the comms. The alien voice was deep and harsh. "Return the Zen device. It does not belong to humans, or your world will burn." The captain refused to answer, but fear spread quickly among the crew. Some soldiers whispered, "Maybe we should give it back, maybe it will save us," but others shouted, "No, it is ours, we found it." Arik stood in the corner, silent, his heart racing. The voice inside him spoke again. "Arik, they do not want the device. They fear what it can become. They fear you," Arik whispered to himself. "I am only a worker, why me?" The voice replied, "Because you are the beginner, you are unshaped, and that is your strength." The aliens fired again. The ship cracked, lights flickered, sparks rained from broken panels, and screams echoed in the corridors. The captain gave orders to evacuate, but there was no safe place to run. Arik suddenly felt the device humming from far away, as if it was calling to him. His legs moved on their own. He ran through smoke and fire until he reached the chamber where the Zen device was kept. Guards tried to stop him, shouting orders, but the device shined the moment he came near. The humming grew louder, like a heartbeat. The crystal inside rose into the air, and a wave of light filled the room. The guards fell back, shielding their eyes. Arik felt heat rushing through his body. His chest burned, his hands glowed, and suddenly he knew what to do. He raised his hands without thinking, and a shield of pure energy formed outside the ship. A giant wall of light that blocked the next alien strike. The crew gasped, staring in disbelief. The captain shouted, "What is this?" Arik could not answer. His whole body shook as if a storm was inside him, but the shield held strong. The alien ships stopped firing for a moment. They scanned the strange barrier. Then one of their voices boomed again across the comms. "Impossible, the beginner has awakened." Arik froze. Did they know him? How could they know? The alien spoke again. "Human, give us the device or your kind will suffer." Arik felt the voice of the guide rising within him, saying, "Do not fear, they cannot break the balance you hold." Arik shouted back, though his voice trembled, "We will not give it to you, this is not yours." The crew stared at him, shocked that a simple worker dared to speak for them. But there was no time to question. The aliens attacked again. Dozens of blasts slammed into the shield, but the light only grew brighter. Every strike fed the energy around Arik. His eyes glowed white. The crew could barely look at him. Soldiers who once doubted him now whispered, "Is he human? Is he one of them?" Finally, the aliens stopped their attack, and the largest ship moved forward. Its dark surface opening like jaws from the shadow stepped a tall figure cloaked in black. Its voice echoed through every mind aboard the human vessel. "Beginner, you walk the path of Zen, but you are not worthy. Return it or face the trial." Arik gasped. The voice inside him said, "This is the challenge. It has begun." The alien raised its hand, and suddenly Arik was pulled from the floor. His body lifted by invisible force. Pain struck his chest. He screamed, but the guide whispered, "Hold balance, focus." Arik forced himself to breathe. His body shook, as if breaking apart. But then he felt calm spreading through his veins like cool water. He raised his hand again. Light burst out, shattering the invisible grip. The alien staggered back, its eyes glowing red. It hissed in rage. The human crew cheered. But fear remained, because they saw something in the alien's eyes. Not just anger, but recognition. It knew Arik. It had expected him. The alien spoke again. "Beginner, you cannot hide. The path belongs to all. Not only you. If you walk it, you will face us all." Arik stood trembling, his energy fading, but his will strong. He answered, "Then I will face you," the alien growled. "Then so be it. The challenge begins," and in a flash the ships vanished into the dark. Leaving silence behind, the human crew looked. At Arik with shock and fear. Some whispered, "He saved us." Others whispered, "He cursed us." But Arik knew nothing would be the same again. The guide whispered softly, "Your first step is taken, but the journey has only begun." Arik could not sleep after the battle. His body felt weak, but his mind kept burning with questions. The alien had spoken, as if it knew him, as if his path was already written, and the voice of the guide inside him kept whispering, "This is only the beginning." The captain called him to the command deck. The crew looked at him with mixed eyes, some with fear, some with respect. The captain asked, "What happened back there? What did you do?" Arik shook his head. "I do not know. I only felt something inside. Me, like the device, gave me strength." The captain frowned. He wanted answers, but Arik had none. The government received the battle report and ordered the ship back to Earth, but before they could move, the device glowed again, filling the chamber with starlight. Symbols appeared floating in the air, spinning in circles, forming a map. Arik entered the chamber alone, and the voice said, "This is your path. You must travel across the stars to the Temple of Balance. Only there can you learn the truth." Arik whispered, "Temple of Balance. Where is it?" The symbols spun faster and formed an image of a faraway system, beyond human maps, beyond any known route. The guide said, "The path of galactic Zen is not on Earth. It is out there. You must go." Arik felt fear rise in his chest. How could he leave? How could a simple worker become a traveler of the unknown? Yet deep inside, he also felt a strange pull, like gravity, drawing him forward. He tried to resist, but the device pulsed with light, and the visions returned. He saw himself standing in a grand hall, covered in glowing Zen symbols, surrounded by beings of many races, some alien, some human, all looking at him with judgment. He gasped and fell to his knees. The voice whispered to him, "You are not the only one chosen. There are others from different worlds, and you must face them. Only one will complete the path." Arik shivered. This was bigger than he imagined. He thought of Earth, of his home, of his small life fixing machines. Now all of that felt like a dream compared to the weight of this destiny. When the crew asked what he saw, he stayed silent. He did not want to frighten them, but the guide continued to teach him in secret. Every night in his dreams, the voice showed him lessons. It told him to control his breath, to slow his heartbeat, to keep his thoughts clear, to find balance between anger and calm, fear and courage. Soon Arik noticed he was changing. His hands no longer shook when the soldiers glared at him. His voice no longer trembled when he spoke to the captain. He felt stronger inside, as if his soul was being shaped. Still, he was only a beginner, and the road ahead was heavy. The ship reached Earth orbit, but instead of celebration, fear spread across the planet. News of the alien attack had already leaked. Many leaders demanded to lock the device forever. Some shouted to destroy it. Others wanted to use it as a weapon. The world was divided, and Arik was caught in the middle. Some called him a hero. Others called him a curse. Arik wished to stay quiet, but the device pulsed again, and the guide whispered, "You cannot hide. The path will not wait." Arik realized he could not remain on Earth. He had to leave, to follow the map, to find the Temple of Balance. It was the only way to understand why he was chosen. The captain at first refused to let him go, but when strange signals appeared again near the solar system, he changed his mind. Better to send Arik away than risk another war. The ship was given to him. Only a small crew willing to join him. Most were young adventurers who believed in his strange story. Together they left Earth, traveling beyond human space. The stars grew brighter, the silence of space deeper. Arik sat alone, watching the endless dark and listening to the guide. The voice said, "You will face tests, not with weapons, but with your mind and your choices. Each test will shape you or break you." After many weeks, the crew reached the system shown by the map. They saw a giant planet, surrounded by floating ruins, pieces of old cities glowing faintly like ghosts among the stars. In the center of the ruins was a temple, glowing with the same Zen symbols. Arik felt his chest tighten. This was the place. The guide whispered, "Yes, the Temple of Balance." The first gate of galactic Zen. Arik landed with his crew, but as they stepped inside the great hall, they froze, for they were not alone. Strange figures stood waiting, alien beings with different shapes, tall, thin creatures with silver, eye-scaled warriors with burning armor, and even two humans who had arrived from secret paths. All of them stood silent, watching Arik. The guide whispered to him, "They are the other beginners, each chosen from a different world. Only one will complete." The path Arik swallowed hard, fear twisting inside him, but he remembered the words balance, not anger, not fear. He stood tall, though his heart raced, and he spoke, "I am ready." The temple walls glowed brighter. The ground shook. The great trial was about to begin. The temple walls glowed with symbols that moved like living light. The other chosen beings stood in silence, their eyes fixed on Arik and the crystal at his side. The air felt heavy, as if the temple itself was watching them. Suddenly the guide's voice whispered inside his mind, "The trial has begun." Arik waited for some test to appear, but nothing moved instead. One of the alien challengers stepped forward, a tall, scaled warrior with burning red armor. His voice hissed across the hall, "Beginner. Human, you are weak, you do not belong here." Arik felt anger rise, but he remembered balance. He did not answer, only lowered his eyes. The warrior laughed and stepped back, but the silence was broken now. Others began to argue. The chosen ones shouted, in many voices, each claiming the path for their race, each saying they were the rightful guardian. The hall grew louder, until suddenly the symbols flashed bright, and a beam of light shot into the center. It formed an image of a great council of ancient beings, their faces hidden, their voices deep. One voice said, "This path is not given, it is earned. Each must face the truth within themselves. Only one may stand as guardian." The image faded, leaving the chosen in silence. Arik shivered. He knew the real trial was not battle, but something deeper. That night he tried to sleep inside the temple, but the guide whispered, "Beware, not all will walk with honor. Some will break balance." Arik opened his eyes, confused, but before he could ask the meaning, he heard footsteps. A shadow moved near the temple's edge. He followed quietly, and what he saw made his chest freeze. It was a human commander, one of the officers who had traveled secretly with another fleet. He was speaking with an alien through a hidden comm device. The commander's voice was cold. He said, "The boy is dangerous. He cannot control the device if we let him succeed. Earth will fall under his power. I will give you his location in exchange for protection." The alien voice answered, "We accept. We will end him during the final trial." Arik's hands shook. He could not believe it. His own people had betrayed him. Not only the aliens feared him, but even humans wanted him destroyed. He returned to his room, his mind heavy with pain. He whispered to the guide, "Why are they doing this?" The voice answered, "Because fear blinds them. They see power they do not understand, and they choose betrayal over trust. You must hold balance." Arik wanted to shout in anger. He wanted to tell everyone the truth, but he remembered the lesson: balance between anger and calm. He swallowed the pain and kept silent. The next day the trials continued. Each chosen was placed before visions of their fears. Some failed, some passed. When Arik's turn came, the temple filled with light, and he saw Earth burning, cities in flames. His family screaming, his friends turning away from him. He fell to his knees, begging it to stop. But the guide whispered, "Face it, do not run. This is not the future. It is fear." Arik forced himself to breathe slowly. The fire faded and the vision broke. He had passed, but he felt empty inside because the fear was real. He knew humans could betray him as easily as aliens. In the final chamber, the remaining chosen were gathered. The council appeared once more and spoke. The truth of the device was revealed. It was not a weapon, but a seed of balance created by an ancient race that vanished long ago. They had built the path of galactic Zen so that one being worthy could guard the galaxy from chaos. Arik gasped as the meaning became clear. The alien challengers bowed their heads. Some accepted the truth. Others grew angry. One shouted, "No human will take this role." The hall shook with rage. But before anything more could happen, a loud blast struck the temple walls. Explosions tore through the ancient stone. The betrayer had acted. The commander had guided the alien fleet to this sacred place. Fire rained from above. The chosen scattered the temple, cracked apart. Arik stood, frozen. The guide whispered, "This is the betrayal you were warned about. The enemy has come now. Your truth must be chosen." Arik clenched his fists, his heart pounding. He knew there was no turning back. The temple was falling. The aliens were invading. And humanity itself had betrayed him. The only path left was forward into the final test. The temple shook. As explosions tore through its ancient walls, stones fell and symbols cracked. The chosen, scattered in fear and rage, some tried to fight back. But the alien fleet outside rained fire without mercy. Arik stood in the center, the Zen, crystal floating before him, pulsing with light. The guide whispered, "This is the final trial. The true balance is not outside, it is within you." Arik looked around. Smoke filled the hall. The betrayer, human commander, stepped out of the shadows, pointing at him, shouting, "He is the danger, he will destroy us all." The soldiers who followed him raised their weapons and the aliens rushed forward. Arik felt anger rise like fire in his chest. He wanted to strike them all down. He wanted revenge for their betrayal. But the guide's voice was calm. "Balance, Arik. Balance. Your power is not for destruction, it is for harmony." Arik closed his eyes. Even as chaos roared around him, he slowed his breath. He heard the sound of his own heartbeat. He felt the fire of his anger on one side and the cold fear on the other. And then he stood between them like a bridge, calm, steady, unbroken. The crystal shined brighter, rising high above him. Beams of light burst from it, forming a sphere around him. The blasts of alien weapons struck but melted away like water. The betrayer shouted, "Shoot him now." But the soldiers hesitated, their weapons trembling in their hands. Arik opened his eyes, and they glowed with pure white light. The hall grew silent. The guide whispered, "Now show them the truth." Arik raised his hands, but instead of attacking, he spread the light outward. It covered the room and touched every mind, human, alien, and chosen. At once they all froze as visions filled their eyes. They saw the ancient race who had built the path. They saw countless wars that had destroyed galaxies. They saw the endless cycle of fear, anger, betrayal, and fire. Then they saw balance. They saw a path where many races stood together, not as enemies, but as guardians of harmony. The visions ended, leaving everyone silent. The alien warriors lowered their weapons. The betrayer fell back, eyes wide with fear, shouting, "Lies! This is a trick!" But no one followed him. The light of the crystal had touched them all. The alien leader stepped forward and bowed his head, whispering, "The beginner is not weak, the beginner is the guardian." Arik felt tears rise in his eyes. He had not destroyed them, he had shown them truth. The guide spoke softly, "You have passed the final balance, not by power but by choice." Arik lifted the crystal. It dissolved into his chest, becoming part of him forever. He was no longer the simple worker he once was. He was now the first human guardian of galactic Zen. Outside, the alien fleet stopped firing. Their ships turned and slipped away into the darkness, leaving the broken temple in peace. The chosen who remained bowed to him, some with respect, some with sadness, but all knowing the trial was complete. Arik walked slowly to the shattered gate of the temple. He looked at the stars, his heart heavy but calm. The crew who had followed him stood waiting, their eyes filled with awe. The captain whispered, "What are you now?" Arik smiled faintly and said only, "What I must be, the guardian of balance." But even as he spoke, the guide whispered one last warning. "The path does not end. Another seed has awakened far across the galaxy." Arik's face hardened. He understood his journey was not finished. It was only the beginning. The stars stretched before him, endless and mysterious. And though fear still lived in his heart, balance gave him strength. He turned to his crew and said, "Let's go. There is more to come." And with that, the ship rose from the ruins and disappeared into the deep void, leaving behind the ashes of betrayal and the birth of a guardian whose story was only just starting.